Our first storyteller comes to us from Stillwater, Minnesota, by way of Chicago, by way of New York City. Howard Lieberman has had an amazing life, and because of that amazing life, he is willing to take you on a journey with him. And that's part of great storytelling, that they pull you out of your seat, transport you into someone else's life, allowing you to see through their eyes and feel it in your body. You are privileged to hear from Howard Lieberman. His first story, Marching with Martin.
First of all, I'd like to say this is my first time in your fair city, Cedar Rapids. I thought that was somewhere in northern Minnesota. I didn't know it was in Iowa. And so far, I'm very impressed. I mean, that it was from the bottom of my heart. This seems like a great community. And I know none of you recognize what I'm wearing, but this is from a comic book. Some of you heard me say this. This is the character known as Hawkeye. I wore this for all y'all. It's August of 1966. I just stepped in the house and the phone's ringing. I answer the phone. It's a call from a group called the Students for a Sane Democracy. They want to know if my older brother would like to go on a march with Dr. Martin Luther King for open housing in Chicago. And if you don't know, Chicago has always been the most segregated major city in the country. And I live on the north side. I'm what was called a North Side Jew. I didn't know any black people, except we had one rich relative who lived on the North Shore, who had a person who came in and cleaned the house who was a person of color, a black woman, who they condescendingly referred to as the Schwarze. And that was my only interaction with black people. But you know what? I decided I would go on that march. I didn't even tell my brother about the phone call. I thought, going on a march, I might be able to meet girls. The march was going to be at Marquette Park on the south side of Chicago. I had never been on the south side of Chicago. The day of the march, I got on the L, that's the train, and I started heading south. And I discovered that when you get closer to Washington, the dividing line between north and south, the white people are getting off, and the black people are getting on. And I was afraid. I was afraid. If there was a single white person on that train with me, it didn't matter if that was a bum drinking out of a bottle in a paper bag, as long as I wasn't the only white person, I wasn't afraid. And we went further south to something called the Ashland Spur. And I don't know what that is today, but there was something called the Ashland Spur. And we took the train to the end of the line. And I got off the train, and there's all these big black men waiting to greet me. Now, they were like Corey size. Big black men, which scared the bejeebers out of me. I'm not going to lie. As I said, I'm a North Sider. I didn't know black people. And one very large man hands me a sign. He said, "You're for a march, right?" I said, "Yes, sir, I really am." He said, "Good boy." And there we are. A little skinny, not yet bald, Jewish guy with all these black, mostly men. I'm holding a sign, and we start marching. And I noticed there were white people around us. I didn't know there were white people on the South Side. I think they were what we called white ethnics. And as we're marching, this car, this old beater of a car, pulls up next to me. And the window comes down, and some guy, he looks like any of you here, he starts screaming at me. Invective, things that I won't repeat here. But the word lover comes after what they called me. And he's saying, they don't know any better. They're a bunch of animals, but shame on you, shame on you. And he starts throwing cigarette butt at me. He takes his ashtray while he's driving, and he empties it on me. And then he takes a can of Chicago's finest old-style beer, and he throws it right at me, all over my clothes. All over my clothes. And this large black man marching alongside of me said, "Here." And he reached in his backpack and he pulled out a sweatshirt. He said, "Just in case it got cold, I brought a change of clothes." And he gives it to me. And I put down the sign a minute, and I put on this sweatshirt. It's like a mini dress. I put on this sweatshirt, and I pick up my sign, and we walk. And we walk. And I'm feeling excited. I'm going to get to meet Dr. Martin Luther King. And I don't think I knew who Dr. Martin Luther King was, but everybody seemed to think he was great. And as we get closer to Marquette Park, people are coming out of their houses, screaming at us for daring to have black people and that little white Jewish guy marching through their neighborhood. And there were cops, Chicago's finest. You know, the ones with the billy clubs like this, like this, like this, standing there, looking at this. And people are throwing things at us, garbage, shouting words to us, which is even more garbage. And as we get closer to the park, a car pulls up, a nice sedan, and a very elegantly dressed, powerful-looking man steps out. And the man with whom I'm marching says, "That's Dr. King, isn't he magnificent?" And I'm mesmerized. And then I notice that the white people are throwing things at Dr. Martin Luther King. All kinds of things. They're screaming. They're yelling. You'd think that the Nazis were marching in Skokie, maybe. And one person grabs a big rock and hurls it and hits Dr. King right in the head. His bodyguards circle around him. They want to put him back in the car. He says no. He stands up taller, prouder. The neighbors start closing in on us. They're closing in on us. They've got garbage can hoods, and they've got sticks. They've got everything. And I look at the police. Thump, thump. And they attack us. They attack the marchers. They don't attack the people who are attacking us. They attack the marchers. And it gets violent. And they're swinging their billy clubs at our heads. And the neighborhood folks are throwing rocks and probably old-style beer cans and all kinds of other things at us. And I'm not a brave person. I went to meet girls. I look around, scared. The big man whose mini dress I'm wearing, he said, "You better get out of here. It's going to get dangerous." And then another stone hits Dr. King in the forehead right here. And this time his bodyguards insist that he get in the car. And they drive away. I take a last look, and I know, see, I'm white. I can blend in with the community. And I head back towards the L. I walk, I see the chaos. I get to the L, and one of Chicago's finest is like this. Where do you live? I live on the north side, sir. Well, you better get on that train and get the hell out of here, because those people are animals. They're savages, and you'll get killed if you stick around here. And you know what? It didn't occur to me that he might be speaking about the local people. He was speaking about the marchers. I got on the L. I took the spur back to the regular CTA line. And I got on a car on the south side where I was the only white person. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid until we hit Washington. When the black people got off and the white people got on, I looked around if there was any other black person. I wouldn't be as afraid. And I went home. And my life has never been the same. Thank you. There's a time limit, you know. How am I doing on time? Anybody know? I didn't look at that. Okay, who cares? Okay, we'll try something a little bit friendlier. Or should I? I was going to tell a story about traveling across country with my daughter, but too many of you have heard that story earlier. But on one of our trips, this is a quickie. On one of the trips cross country with our daughter, Megan, who went to college in Southern California, we would drive together because my wife, Pat, who's sitting there, she didn't like to travel with us. Megan drives like her father, which is to say, the speed limit is it's kind of a vague guideline. But you don't pay attention. And we drive sometimes with one hand while we're talking to our fellow passengers. And my wife, as between the two of us, is the responsible adult. So we're talking, and we pull over. We're about to go into a motel, get a couple of rooms. And she looks at me and says, "Dad, I have to tell you something. When we were camping in the backyard, we live on a lake in Stillwater, Minnesota, and there's a big, huge backyard in the lake over there. When we were camping in the backyard, we were smoking cigarettes and drinking beer." I said, "I know." She looked at me like only a teenage daughter can look at her father, with a look of, "Oh, Dad, don't give me that kind of nonsense." And that kind of look my wife sometimes gives me, that come on. "How would you know? How would you know?" she says. I said, "Well, Megan, you see, I had to clean up the mess the next morning. I picked up the cigarette butts and the empty beer cans." And she looked at me like, "Huh, I never thought of that. Why didn't you stop us?" she said. "Why did you let us do that?" I said, because you're a teenager. Teenagers are going to do bad things. Hopefully not very bad things. And we would rather have you do that in our backyard, where we could have some semblance of control. And that's why we did that. And she looked at me, not with that steely glint, but I think something bordering on admiration. She has 2 kids now, a boy and a girl. Our granddaughter just played softball today, and we were able to see it on video from Houston, Texas, where they live. Last time we went to visit, I said to my daughter, Megan, I can't wait till Nora is a teenager. Thank you.
That was Howard.